Welcome to the Living Loud and Proud podcast, brought to you by Disability Pride, Pennsylvania. If you need a link to the transcript for this episode, please visit our accessible website at www.disabilitypridepa.org/podcast. And now, here is your host.
Hey everyone, welcome to Living Loud and Proud, the podcast that examines disability-related issues and stories. I'm your host, Phill Rosen.
And I'm DECA, Horton. We're so glad you're tuning in today because we've got a really significant topic to talk about today.
So, Ray, today we're tackling the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. It was signed into law 35 years ago on July 26, 1990, and it fundamentally changed civil rights here in the U.S.
Oh, absolutely. When you think about it, the ADA isn't just some piece of, legislation that popped up overnight. It's the result of decades of incredibly hard work, passionate advocacy, and the unwavering belief that everyone deserves a fair shot.
Yeah, it's a powerful story. Let's rewind a bit and really dig into how this all came to be. Hear directly from some of the people who fought for the ADA, and then look at the impact that it's had.
Well, before the ADA, life for people with disabilities was incredibly challenging. I mean, they faced so many barriers to a full life, whether getting a job, going to school, or even entering a public building. I mean, discrimination was rampant, and its effects were absolutely devastating.
Oh, totally. The disability rights movement really started picking up steam in the 1970s, drawing a lot of inspiration from the civil rights movement of the 1960s. These activists, many of whom had experienced that discrimination firsthand, began demanding equal rights and an end to all of the societal roadblocks. The whole movement was really the foundation for what eventually became the ADA.
And speaking of foundational figures, we have to talk about Justin Dart Jr. People often call him the father of the ADA. He was a wheelchair user himself due to polio, and he just crisscrossed the country tirelessly. I mean, he met with so many people with disabilities, heard their personal stories, and really rallied support for this federal law.
Yeah, his passion was incredible. He truly believed disability is a natural part of the human experience, and that society, not individuals, needed to adapt. Here's a statement he made reflecting on what the ADA truly meant after it was signed into law. The ADA is a landmark commandment of fundamental human morality. It is the world's first declaration of equality for people with disabilities by any nation. It will proclaim to America and to the world that people with disabilities are fully human, that paternalistic, discriminatory, segregationist attitudes are no longer acceptable, and that henceforth people with disabilities must be accorded the same personal respect and same social and economic opportunities as other people. Powerful words from a man who advocated the moral imperative of the ADA.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that profound declaration of equality marked a huge shift in public perception and also human dignity.
Now, getting the ADA through Congress was a challenging hill to climb. There was a lot of pushback from some folks who were worried about the costs and others who, frankly, don't grasp the widespread discrimination that people with disabilities face.
Right. And let's be clear, the disability rights movement wasn't just about smooth lobbying behind the scenes. There were some incredibly powerful acts of direct action that really put the issues front and center for the public.
Exactly. One of the most unforgettable moments was the Capitol crawl in March of 1990, as we discussed in season 1 of this podcast. For folks who might not know, over 60 disability rights activists literally left their mobility aids and crawled up the steps of the U.S. Capitol building.
Oh, yeah. It was such a dramatic and clear way to show the world the physical barriers people with disabilities encountered every single day. I mean, it was a heartfelt plea for accessibility. And it's a strong message that we're not going to be ignored.
That kind of visible activism, combined with all the intense legislative work, really built the momentum needed to push the bill forward, despite the significant opposition.
And speaking of opposition, let's touch on that a bit. Okay, now critics often brought up concerns about the potential financial burden on businesses and local governments. Okay, now you had many small business owners and business associations arguing that ramps, accessible restrooms, and other accommodations would just be too expensive. I mean, possibly even leading to closure or job losses.
Yeah, absolutely. And within Congress itself, even though it ultimately got a lot of bipartisan support, there were definitely members who were very vocal in their opposition or tried to water down the bill. For example, Representative Jim Chapman, a Democrat from Texas, introduced a really controversial amendment. This Chapman Amendment, as it was known, would have allowed employers to transfer workers with contagious diseases, including HIV, out of food handling jobs, even if there was zero medical reason to do so.
Yeah, I mean, this was widely seen as a discriminatory attempt to target individuals with AIDS, and was vigorously fought by disability rights and AIDS activists. Then you had Senator Jesse Helms, a Republican from North Carolina, who often expressed worries about the bill's broad scope and potential federal overreach. While they weren't necessarily against helping people with disabilities, their main hangup was often the economic impact and specific protections within the bill.
Yeah, and there were also some who questioned how disability was defined, fearing it would open the floodgates to frivolous lawsuits. And some conservative groups and economists, like those associated with the Cato Institute, even published studies later on suggesting the ADA actually hurt employment rates for people with disabilities because the perceived costs made employers hesitant to hire. I'm going to go on record, though, and say I have a strong suspicion that many of these economists and think tanks allowed their biases to cloud their perspective regardless of the data.
Well, remember, as Kemp Jr. often pointed out, the ADA wasn't just a moral issue, it was smart business.
Exactly. Kemp Jr. was another crucial voice in this whole fight. He also used a wheelchair due to a neuromuscular disease and served as chairman of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, under President George H.W. Bush. He was a powerful advocate, often making clear that economic independence was central to true equality.
And here's a compelling statement from Kemp Jr. to the President's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities, directly addressing the broader benefits of this rights-based approach. Okay, now as the quote goes, yes, it will be good for business. It will be good for everybody when people with disabilities are allowed to exercise their full potential as workers, citizens, and human beings. But that won't happen until we adopt a rights-bearing approach that makes it happen.
Wow. That statement really connects the dots, doesn't it? It really shows how a fundamental rights approach isn't only morally just, but practical and economically beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, absolutely. I mean, Kemp's argument directly addresses those economic critiques, demonstrating that the ADA was not just a social justice issue, but also a smart economic policy that could benefit everyone in the long run.
Yeah, and the bipartisan support for the ADA was definitely key to its success. While the disability community had strong allies in both parties, the final push came from the White House.
Oh, and what a moment that was. On July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act into law right there on the south lawn of the White House. Thousands of disability advocates were there to witness it. It was incredibly emotional.
Yeah, President Bush, known for wanting a kinder, gentler nation, really grasped the importance of the ADA historically. His words that day truly highlighted both the moral necessity and the sheer scope of this legislation. Here's a powerful excerpt from his speech at the signing ceremony. With today's signing of the landmark Americans for Disabilities Act, every man, woman, and child with a disability can now pass through once closed doors into a bright new era of equality, independence, and freedom. Together, we must remove the physical barriers we have created and the social barriers that we have accepted. For ours will never be a truly prosperous nation until all within it prosper. I now lift my pen to sign this Americans with Disabilities Act and say, let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down.
Yeah. See, that quote, iconic. I mean, it really captured the heart and promise of the ADA, encompassing equality, independence, and the idea that true national prosperity requires everyone's participation. It's even more powerful when you consider the international stage at the time, because what had just happened the November prior to the signing of this bill?
Well, the world had literally watched the Berlin Wall crumble. This was a moment where America was breaking down its walls for freedom, mirroring that immense global shift just 8 months prior.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was very much speaking in the spirit of that historical moment. His words emphasize that this act was about, opening those once closed doors, creating a path to opportunity and understanding that had long been denied. It wasn't about charity. It was about establishing fundamental access and rights. That was huge.
So the ADA is this super comprehensive piece of legislation broken down into several titles, each addressing different areas of life.
For example, Title I focuses on employment. It prohibits discrimination and requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations for qualified individuals with disabilities.
Then you've got Title II, which is all about state and local government entities. It ensures access to public services and transportation.
And Title III tackles public accommodations, places like restaurants, stores, and hotels, etc., making sure they're accessible.
And Title IV deals with telecommunications, ensuring access to phone and internet services for disabled individuals.
Right. And finally, Title V has a bunch of miscellaneous provisions, including things like protection against retaliation and attorney's fees.
Yeah, the impact of the ADA has been absolutely massive. We've seen huge improvements in accessibility, everything from curb cuts and ramps to accessible restrooms and braille signs in public space.
It's really opened up so many employment opportunities, allowing more people with disabilities to share their incredible talents in the workforce.
And it's fostered so much more inclusion in education, recreation, and just in community life overall.
But, passing the ADA wasn't the finish line. It was really just the beginning. The work of enforcing the law, continued advocacy, and how the courts interpreted all of that keeps shaping its implementation,
Oh, totally. There still are definitely challenges, and the fight for full inclusion is absolutely ongoing. But still, the ADA stands as this powerful testament to what we can achieve when we work together and the fundamental rights of every single person.
Yeah, what's particularly poignant about the ADA's legacy is how its provisions even came to benefit President Bush himself later in life. Huh?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point, Ray. In his later years, as President Bush started using a wheelchair due to Parkinson's, he personally experienced the benefits of this very accessibility features mandated by the law he signed, right?
Mm-hmm. He reportedly even joked with his staff about how convenient those ramps and accessible sidewalks were, saying something like, those ramps and those sidewalks are very convenient. Who thought of putting those there?
Oh, that's such a powerful full circle moment, really.
Mm-hmm.
It just drives home that the ADA wasn't just for one specific group, but for all Americans, truly. Because so many of us will experience some form of disability, permanent or temporary, as we get older. His own experience just underscored the universal benefit of a more accessible society.
Yeah, and as we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the ADA, it's crucial to remember the individuals whose tireless efforts and unwavering spirit made this landmark legislation possible.
Yeah, as we stated before, Justin Dart, Evan Kemp, President George Bush, and countless other advocates, lawmakers, and everyday citizens, particularly those who participated in the Capitol crawl, played a role in dismantling barriers and building a more inclusive society, even in the face of strong opposition from some within Congress and various interest groups.
Yeah, and the ADA reminds us that civil rights aren't static. They're constantly evolving. I mean, it challenges us to always question our assumptions, design our world with everyone in mind, and to strive for a society where every single person has the chance to truly thrive.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it really shows that advocacy never ends. So, everyone, thanks for joining us on the Living Loud and Proud podcast today.
And we really hope this deep dive into the Americans with Disabilities Act has given you a greater appreciation for its significance and the incredible journey that led to its passage.
And if you enjoyed our show today, please share, like, and subscribe. Join us next time as we explore another important disability-related issue.
Bye-bye.
Please visit our accessible website at www.disabilitypridepa.org. You can find us on social media at Disability Pride PA on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.